This is the last podcast of 2025. And before we get to 2026, I want to give you one of the most simple and effective business plans that you can use right away to hit your goals over the next 12 months. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Listing Blueprint Podcast, the show for real estate agents who want to become top-tier listing agents and build a business driven by systems and not stress. I'm your host, Jeremy Reed, managing broker, 16-year realtor, and creator of the Listing Blueprint Fastest Path to Sold. Every episode, I break down one practical strategy or framework you can use to win more listing appointments, price with confidence, market with intention, and sell homes faster in any market. If you're ready to elevate your listing game and run your business like a pro, you're in the right place. Let's get started. So the concept and the business planning model that I want to talk about today is called the 5 income streams of a listing. Now, this to me was just mind-blowing because I was overcomplicating my business planning immensely. So one of the things that a lot of people will teach, and I tried this, I could just never find a way to make it work for me, is you track the amount of conversations you have. From there, you'll have a certain amount of appointments. From a certain amount of appointments, you have a certain amount of listings. Certain amount of listings, you have a certain amount of sales, and so on. So then it all came back to the conversations. Where I started to lose it a little bit for me personally is that when I was trying to look at my conversations, I could door knock on an expired listing, I could talk to a first sale by owner, I could door knock in an area, or I could talk to people in my sphere of influence, I could talk to people at Rotary, at the coffee club. They're all different conversations. And the problem was that I never tracked it to a point where I could say, if I talk to 20 people in the coffee shop every single time I go in, I'm going to get this amount of listing appointments, or it was just too complicated for me. So number one, what I started to do was look at how many listing appointments am I having a week and how many do I need to close of that to get the amount of listings. And this, again, I know I'm partial to listings, especially with the listing blueprint, but it's because it works. If you know the amount of listings that you're taking, you know the amount of sales roughly you're going to get, because now it comes down to how good are you at selling these places. Now, if you go back one step, it's the appointment. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller. I read that book 15 years ago. It was one of the first books in real estate I read. And he talked about that right at the start, was that the most important thing is the amount of listing appointments you're booking. Nothing else really matters. And so when you just kind of free yourself to look at, okay, how many listing appointments am I having a week? And how many listings am I getting from those listing appointments? Now you have something to work with because it's easy to track and you can get better at those skills. The more listing appointments you have, you can increase your conversion. The more listings you get, you can increase your conversion to sale. So let's say, for instance, that I wanted to sell 30 homes and I could consistently sell 80% of the listings that I took. I'd need 36 listings. 36 listings would be 30 sales. That was the way that I first started thinking about this. Here's the thing, there's so much lost opportunity in that because you're constantly having to prospect to get those new listings. Whereas the 5 income streams of the listing, what I always really liked about it and why I baked it right into the listing blueprint model is that it says that you can take a listing and you can make income even if you don't sell it. So let's talk about the 5 income streams of the listing and then how you can work it into your process to make yourself way more effective and make it way easier for you to hit your targets next year. So every single time you take a listing, you can sell the listing, you can take that client and sell them a home or get a referral if they're moving out of town. You can generate a buyer lead from that listing that can turn into a transaction. You can turn that listing into another listing in the area. We call this a duplication rate. So remember, on average, a listing comes up and typically the neighbors start watching, and then you'll see 2 or 3 other listings come up over the next 12 to 18 months in that area. It happens quite a bit. It's because it starts the process. So you know there's people around it. So if you can take your listing and turn it into another listing in the area, that's another source of income. And then the 5th one will be if you get a direct referral from the client before you close. Those are the 5 income streams of a listing. Now, if you can create a process that has 5 of those things happen on every single listing, that means that by taking 1 listing, you can do 5 transactions. So you only need 2 listings to do 10 if you can do 5 out of 5. Now, I've never got to a point where I could do 5 out of 5. I usually average 2 to 3. But even at 3, it's much more manageable. So if I want to do 30 deals in a year, I just have to go in my mind, I need to find 10 listings, and then I need to make sure 3 of those 5 things happen every time I take a listing. And the neat thing about it is that you can do this completely in line with things that actually work for the client, which is in the best interest of the seller. So number 1, selling the listing. This is where your skill set how you're going to make more money doing this is you're going to learn a process. You're going to focus on prices. You're going to focus on preparation of the home, and you're going to focus on your marketing. You're going to focus on doing those things really good. And realistically, most of us know how to price a home. If you don't know how to price a home, I've got it in the listing blueprint of how to actually price it. But the more important thing is, how do you have the conversations and explain it to a client in a way that they understand so that they price it effectively? These are the skill sets. Once your communication skill sets are a certain level, you're going to sell a certain percentage of the listings that you take. And this is going to be one of your main income streams. The second one is just making sure that you ask, can you help them buy a home? And if they're moving out of town, do they have a realtor that they're working with? That's going to open up a secondary income source for you right away. Now, a lot of you are probably good at this. Some of you maybe not. I wasn't that good when I started. When people would talk about that they're moving to another area, I didn't always make that recommendation. Now I do, and I really do source good people, and I try to be a part of it. And the nice thing is, if I'm listing your house here and I refer you someone out of town, I can actually coordinate everything. So I can communicate with your realtor there, let them know about our dates. I can help when you put an offer down there. I can help make the package more attractive by letting them know where we're at in the transaction. So it really works well for the client when there's this seamless handoff between myself and the realtor that they're working with. So that's the second source of income. The third is your buyer generation. And the buyer generation, when you think about the average listing that you take, you're going to get a certain amount of inquiries off realtor.ca. You're going to do your open houses. You're going to have these buyers that are going to be interested. Now, your job is to sell the home. But a lot of us don't do a great job of following up with these clients afterwards. So just the simple act of recording everybody that called you on your listing, making a list of it. And then once that listing sells, circle back on all of them. See if they purchase a home. See if they have another realtor. It's a great opportunity to send them other options that are similar to your listing because they haven't bought it yet. So take the action afterwards to try to circle back on these buyers and try to generate a new buyer lead out of it. When you have an open house, you want to sell the listing, but if it's not going to work for them, move them on to the next one. Make sure that when you do your open houses, you know your top 5 competitors. Try to sell your listing, but if the sale's not there because it's too small of a yard and they need a bigger yard or they need to be in a certain catchment, know which homes are in that catchment or which ones have those yards and move them over to that. But you have to think in terms of, I've got this listing, I need to generate one good buyer deal out of this. Hopefully 2, but at least 1. Fourth source of income is another listing in the area. Now, this is one of the most underused thing. When you put a sign in the yard, that's some of your best marketing. All the neighbors know about you. They know about the home. They're watching to see how good you're doing. So give them something to see. And what I like to think about it is create a sales army, create a sales force of the neighbors. So I have a templated letter that I hand out to the neighbors the minute I get the listing signed. And I go out and I let them know the listing's coming to market. I let them know it's going to be a little busier. There's going to be more people driving in the area. We hope it's going to sell quick, so it won't be too much of a disruption. But also, we want to find people that really match into the neighborhood. And a lot of the things that people ask is about the neighbors. So if people are willing to give testimonials about the neighbor, give me some insights. Sometimes you get some gem of insights by talking to the neighbors about a new listing because they'll tell you about stuff in the area. I've had one where it was really neat because she's like, oh, we love the area. In fact, it's a very tight knit. They would have like trick-or-treating events where all the kids would get together, and it was like this annual event that they would do, and they would all trick-or-treat together, and they'd have all the different decorations. It was a thing. It was a very cool thing. It was a very cool thing that I could talk about with buyers because I know I talked to Shelly down the street and she told me about this. So when people came in and they had kids, I could now sell the home better. But I also got to know Shelly. And I also took another listing in the area because while talking to Shelly, she knows the other people. I met them as well. So you're networking with the neighbors, but you're networking with the neighbors to try to know your product better and to try to get them to help you find someone that's going to fit really well into the area. The other thing you got to think about when it comes to the neighbors is context. Your job as a listing agent is to find the buyers that are going to see the highest value in the home. Well, if a buyer's looking at 2 homes and one of the homes they just like, and the other home they like, and they also have mama and papa that live 2 doors down, so the grandkids can literally run over and see the grandparents and run home after dinner, they're going to see different values in those homes. So by letting the neighbors know early, building the relationship, inviting them to the open house, keeping them informed of what's actually happening in the market, and then letting them know when it's sold, you can build relationships with all the people in the area while doing a stellar job for your client. And here's the thing that we never talk about enough. People want to work with people that are good listing agents. So you don't need to be sneaky and, oh, I would love to sell your listing. They just demonstrate to them how good you are. Because when you demonstrate how good you are and how well you take care of your listings and how you want to know your product and how you want to know the neighborhood and you're doing your research so you can do the best job for your clients, people recognize that. They recognize that clearly. And when it comes time for them to sell their home, they're going to call you as well. So that's going to be your fourth income stream. And then the fifth income stream is getting a referral from the client. And this is something I struggled with at the start. And then when I started to do it, I realized it works, is ask for referrals early, ask for them often, and ask for them regularly. Now, I don't like to constantly say, hey, do you have anyone? Do you know anyone? What I like to do is have the conversation up front. And I let them know that there's two ways to do this business. There's the old way, which I explained earlier, which is prospect, prospect, prospect to get your deals. And then there's being a real technician, really selling these listings. Now, if you're going to be a strong listing agent, you're looking at the listings regularly, you're adapting, you're watching the market, you're looking for trends, you're watching the competition, and you're navigating all your clients through. Now, if you have 2, 3, 4 listings, that's not that hard. When you have 20, 30, 40 listings, you got to be on the ball focusing on that. So how do you scale that up? Well, how you do that is you do less prospecting, you work by repeat and referral business as much as possible. So when I talk to a client, I explain, this is my business model. This is why I'm so good at being a listing agent, is I've built my business to focus on doing the job really, really well. But the way that this works is that I ask my clients that if you know someone that can use these services that I'd be a good fit for, if you can just pass my name on. Referrals are a big part of my business. It's 88% of my business. And it's kind of this self-fulfilling wheel where the more referrals I get, the better job I can do for my clients. They're more thrilled, they pass on more clients, and it continues to build and grind. So as we go through this transaction, one of my goals is to get a really good 5-star review from you at the end. I want you to be really happy. I want you to give me some feedback throughout this as well, because if there's something I can do better, I really want to make this the best process I can for you and for all my clients. But I also would love if you would remember to pass my name on if you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell a home. Is that okay? Can you do that for me? Yes, absolutely. We move on. Then what I like to do is at certain times, I have these things called referral cards, which are just like a little note reminding them that I'm looking for more business. So I don't have to ask for them. And I like to deliver that, a hard copy with the listing contract once it's signed, give them the hard copy of the listing with this little note attached into, by the way, I have it actually where it says, do you know anyone? And it has like, they can list out the names of people that they know. So it's a direct ask, but again, I do it at that time. I do it once the sale goes firm and I hand them the contract, and then I do it again on the closing date. And then at the closing date, when we get the review, I use Rank My Agent, which I'm just starting to build up in Google Reviews. I also ask again if they can keep it in mind. So it kind of primes them all the way through. And then they go into my overall database, and then I'm constantly following up with them regularly. But it set the tone. So what I'm saying is set the tone early, earn that referral, and then ask for it. And then when you get it, make sure you do a stellar job and continue to ask them for it. So this is how you actually build a business for the long haul. So in short, focus on listings, focus on listing appointments, because the amount of appointments you get is the most important thing. It doesn't matter how you get them. Get a listing appointments, track how much you convert, and every time you get a listing, try to make one of those 5 things happen. Break it down to figure out what you can do. If you can do a 3-to-1 on average, make it a little game. But if you can do 3-to-1 on average, that means that you need 10 listings to do 30 deals. Even if you don't sell that's what's interesting. Even if you don't sell the listing, you're going to want to, but you can still make 3 other sources of income off a listing, whether you sell it or not. So it gets you to start thinking of these things a little bit different, where you start thinking, okay, if I'm going to get a sign in the yard, I want to get 3 transactions. I got the opportunity to make 5, but I'm going to focus on getting those 3. So I hope that helps. And over the Christmas break, we still have the listing blueprint on it for $295. It is going to go up January 1st to $695. So if you're looking for some other courses and stuff to take to hit 2026 running, go to the listingblueprint.ca. I'm taking on a couple more business coaching clients as well. So if you want to get some one-on-one coaching where we're going to take the listing blueprint and build up your own business model, so your own offers, your own marketing, your own structure, your own processes, I can do that in a one-to-one fashion. And there's a link below as well that you can click on, that we can have a conversation and see if it'd be a good fit. So that's it for 2025. I'll talk to you guys again in 2026. I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and a great holidays, and we'll see you guys again soon. Thanks. Bye.